Hey guys, so this is the iFlight iX2 V2, and this comes in a number of different configurations. You can customize the configuration on the iFlight RC website. They believe the default config for this is going to be an all-in-one camera here instead of a microswift. And the way that mine came originally was with the microswift. This is the first version of the microswift, plus the Runcam TX25, which was like sort of attached to the back of the camera. And the way that it was on there, it was butting up against the flight controller, so it wasn't a lot of camera tilt. Basically, it was almost level to the top plate and bottom plates, so you did pretty much no camera angle at all. So what I did is I just took it apart, and the TX25 is just sitting horizontally now on top of the flight controller, and the receiver is on top of the TX25. And you actually see it better from this angle. And then the antenna, which is soldered on here, I'm just having to run up through this hole here, and I had to move the buzzer, which is now here, which was previously up on the top plate, just using some sticky foam. I pulled that off, and then I stuck it wedged behind here, behind the rear standoff and the 4-in-1 ESC. So I kind of moved a few things around here. I had the same receiver. I believe this comes standard as a plug-and-play, so you have to get your own receiver, but they do offer a bunch of receiver options. The one here is a D8 FreeSky receiver. I think they offer FlySky and Spectrum as well. So basically the configuration is completely customizable. As you can see here, this is just one potential configuration you can have here. You can have all-in-one camera. You can have, I think they also have some different options for the video transmitter as well. So you can sort of pick and choose and customize the way you want to build yours on their website. But the basic components, I think all the ones that are going to come with here, obviously you get the frame here. It's a 90mm motor to motor. It's a dead cat style frame. You can see here it's a little bit shorter width-wise in the back and then in the front. You get the iFlight iPower. These are 1104 7500 kV motors, pretty standard here. Obviously you get the 2-inch Gemfan 2035 4-bladed props, 4-in-1 10 amp BLHeli SESC, D-Shot 600 enabled, and then the flight controller is an Omnibus F3 flight controller. Pretty standard components here, and mine did not come flashed with anything at all. For some reason, I don't know why. Maybe it's because mine were reviewing it. It should have come with something on there, but mine was completely blank, so I had to flash firmware on there myself. So I just decided to put the latest Betaflight 323 on here, running the dynamic filter, anti-gravity, all that stuff that I usually run. Reverse my props, as you guys probably already can see here. I know a lot of you guys have noticed that in my builds, and I pretty much run reverse props on everything nowadays because I just like the way it flies better. And when I crash and land in the grass and rearm, I don't throw grass into my camera lens, which really bothered me a lot. So if you guys are wondering why I run reverse props, that's why. But yeah, it's pretty standard components here. Nothing too amazing or different out here in terms of like build. The frame itself is the version 2 of the iX2. I believe the version 1 had like the composite material and the fiberglass in between the sandwich layers, but this is full carbon here, 2.5mm on the bottom, 2mm on the top plate. Very, very sturdy. Now the way the camera's mounted here, they have this little PLA printed 3D part here that has the camera sort of a little bit further back, but it's kind of, that's about the best angle you can get there because of the way the lens holder is. You can't really move it too much more forward, and you can't get too much more camera tilt in this, and the standoffs here in the top corners of the FPV feed do show up in the picture. So I'm probably going to go with some sort of a pod design later on, not for the, obviously for the initial flights, but probably switch out the top plate and the standoffs for some sort of a pod, so that the props and the standoffs, and there's nothing in the view of the camera, which I don't really particularly like. But if you're looking for a pretty strong frame, this is fairly strong. It's pretty unlikely you're going to break these arms at 2.5mm. And it's not too heavy either. It's about 75 grams all up weight here with the props on, so pretty decent weight for what you get here. Anyway, guys, we'll go ahead and I'll cut to some flight footage, and we'll talk about this a little bit more during the flight footage. So this is basically some flight footage I took while trying to do some PID tuning, and there's this sort of high throttle oscillation vibration that's occurring, and I thought that maybe it was due to perhaps P gain being too high or D gain being too high, but I didn't really hear much oscillation when I was actually flying around in terms of the audio coming from, or the sound coming from the props. So it was a little confusing as to why I kept getting this high throttle oscillation, because I wasn't really hearing it from the propellers. And I think my conclusion is, after flying around here and playing around with the PIDs, I landed here, took off and landed several times, and I kept lowering my P gain. I was pretty low at the end here, but the oscillation really never really diminished and never really went away. But so my conclusion, I think, is because the little PLA 3D printed camera mount for the MicroSwift might be causing, or might be a little bit too loose, or might be too flexible, and it vibrates when the frame vibrates. So I'm going to fly this again with a pod design with a different camera mount, and also hopefully not use the top plate and the standoffs here, because you can see the standoffs are in the corners of the video, and I really don't like that in the FPV feed. So what I'm going to do is have another video later with a pod style, and have basically the camera view completely unobstructed, and also you'll get some a little bit more camera tilt as well. So I'll have a separate video on that one, but this gives you an idea of like what you can expect if you buy this as it is, with very limited camera tilt. I think because I like a lot of camera tilt, you're going to get, the standoffs in view there. But I guess if you're someone like a beginner who doesn't want a lot of camera tilt, wants a more flat angle, the standoffs aren't going to be in your camera view, and this frame is going to be more durable in crashes. So maybe this might be a better for someone like you, like maybe a beginner, versus someone like me who doesn't really crash as much now, and actually prefers a lot more camera tilt. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens after I redo the pod on this, or the camera mount on this model. We'll see how it flies. So stay tuned for that video later. Anyway, man, I'll just leave you with the rest of this flight footage, and then you guys can decide if you think this is a pretty good model. I thought it flew fine, just that I just didn't like the vibrations going into the camera mount and the camera. So that was it. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.